Hello, let's get it started. Just give me 1 second to load to the page. All right, so last time we actually stopped here, so today we're going to start from here also. Um, Remember, every time we learn about this, we have to, when you go home, when you actually, before you come here, or when you do your schoolwork, you should just use whatever you have learned, not just um learn it and then forget. That's not what we want. All right, just make sure you have it. The thing we learn should be used, right? So now, first I want to have somebody to read this page, and then we're going to have see if you have any question. And then after we finish this chapter, remember, this chapter is all about unity. Remember, it's coherence, or something in, consistent. Right? So after we finish this, we will probably do a little bit something about unity and give an example for that. But we may not write that long, but we're gonna, make it more efficient today. And then after that, we're gonna go more towards the lead and the ending, which are both very important for our students because a lot of students don't know how to start, not they don't know how to end. It can make the writing a mess. All right, so Brady, would you mind reading this page and probably you could stop on the next page. All right, go ahead and read it.
The last two questions are especially important. Most nonfiction writers have a definitive complex. They feel that they're under some obligation to the subject, to their honor, to the gods of writing, to make their article the last word. It is a commendable impulse, but there is no last word. What you think is definitive today will turn undefinitive by tonight, and writers who doggedly pursue every last fact will find themselves pursuing the rainbow and never settling down to write. Nobody can write a book or article about something. Tolstoy couldn't write a book about war and peace, or Melville uh, book about whaling. They made certain reductive decisions about time and place and about individual characters in that time and place. One man pursuing one whale. Every writing project must be reduced before you start to write. Therefore, think small. Decide what corner of your subject you're going to bite off, and be content to cover it up and stop. This is also a matter of energy and morale. An unwieldy writing task is a drain on your enthusiasm. En-
Enthusiasm.
enthusiasm. Enthusiasm is the force that keeps you going and keeps the reader on your grip. When your zest begins to ebb, the reader is the first person to know it. As for what point you want to make, every successful piece of nonfiction should leave the reader with one proactive thought that he or she didn't have before. Not two thoughts or five, just one. So decide what single point you want to leave in the reader's mind. It will not only give you a better idea of what route you should follow and what destination you hope to reach, it will affect your decision about tone and attitude. Some points are best made by earnestness,
Earnestness. Yeah.
some by dry understatement, some by humor.
All right. Thank you. But Brady, do you have any question about these few paragraphs you just read? Brady.
Uh, no.
Okay. Now, if you don't have a question, I have a question for you. Most nonfiction writers have a definitiveness complex. What is a complex in writing, in uh, art, communication? What does a complex mean, Brady?
Like the structure.
No, it's not structure. All right. Here, the special meaning is about psychology. All right. It's a kind of a complex is a kind of psychological, psychological, a psychological sense, right, that you have to do something. You have to do something. You have no choice. You must. So a kind of psychological sense that you have to do something. For example, um, sometimes they have the kingdom complex. That means the person who is writing about something is always attracted about a story of a kingdom. He always talked about kingdom, always, describe the kingdom as he's saying the kingdom is the highest level of achievement of human being. So that's why that kind of psychological sense of anything you have to do and you cannot avoid that, that's called a complex. Does that make sense, Brady?
Yeah.
Okay. So here we have something that's just describing to and telling our author, of course, you the students. Sometimes it's about the teacher also because the teacher in your school normally would not teach this, but they are very important for reading and writing. They feel that they're under some obligation. So like I said, it's a psychological sense. You have to do something. That means you feel you're obligated. All right. You have an obligation to the subject, to their honor, to the gods of writing, to make their article the last word. All right. So here's the thing. What is an obligation we write? Liam. So when you write, so if you don't know what is the obligation for writing, but do you know the word obligation in the first place?
It's like you have to do
Yeah,
something.
you'll have to do something. For example, you have to start the article always with the beautiful word. For example, you think. It may not be right, right? So, or you think we always have to use some beautiful, nice adjectives or adverbs. All right, those are so-called obligation. And if you feel you have an obligation to do something, that kind of sense, psychological sense of you have to do something is called a complex. And here the author, William Zinsser said, it's a commendable impulse. Let me ask Jason. First, what does commendable, and second, what is an impulse?
Uh, I don't know.
I don't know. Okay, commendable means praisable. All right, or it's a good thing, praisable. Do you know the word praise? Praise, Jason?
Yes, I
Yeah,
know.
yeah. So praise means you say good words for about somebody. All right. So commendable means that's something so good that it's deserve my praising. All right. So commendable. Now, what is an impulse, Brady? What is an impulse?
Like a thought.
Well, what kind of thought is regarded as impulse? It's not any thought. It's certain kind of thought that can be treated or regarded as the impulse. What kind of thought can be thought as an impulse?
Um, Maybe immediate thought.
Yeah, you can say that, but it's not enough. All right. So impulse is a sudden, all right. It's a sudden urge of thinking. All right. In other words, it's it comes suddenly from your mind. It's not something you designed, or it's just that moment you want to say something. That's called the impulse. All right. So a lot of people are so that's why actually for writing as an art or any art in general, impulse could be very important because whenever we have the so-called inspiration, impulse is very much related to the so-called inspiration. INSPIRATION, or inspiration. Now, let me ask some of you, Liam, Do you know the word inspiration?
Uh,
INSPIRATION, inspiration. What does that mean?
like you look at something that's like really cool and you're like, I want to do something like that too.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good example. All right, but if we want to define that, you should say it's a kind of it's a kind of excitement, or excitement, or stirring up. All right, stirring up. All right, in other words, you feel excited and you feel you very much want to do something at one moment, and or you feel I'm almost wake it up, or I know something suddenly. That's called inspiration. So in art, especially for writing, the impulse or the inspiration of creation, some beautiful words you suddenly think are very important, obviously, but you cannot all rely on the impulse, right? Because you have to design if you want to, long run, write something beautiful, want to do something great, you have to have regular training like we do every week, and also have the homework you write like you did, you submit to our writing forum, and those kind of regular exercises with discipline and regularity are also very important. So both impulse and inspiration and discipline and regularity are both important, right? So that's why we see here, even if we have some good impulse, good inspiration for writing, but for the so-called last word, that's not always the case, right? So a lot of time, like the author said, today you say the great word I have to put in there, the great, ending sentence, right, is something beautiful, but maybe next time you think I need to change. Maybe next time it's not that great anymore. So that happened a lot, not only for art, for like writing, communication, but also even for science, right? Even for science, computer science, or even a physics or chemistry, even for science, they often change their mind when they are doing a lot of, for example, when they're doing experiment, or after doing the research, they find the idea should be changed. That's very common. All right. So that's why do not think anything you would think the last word will always like that. It's not the case. So here's the one thing. Writers who doggedly pursue every last fact will find themselves pursuing the rainbow and never settling down to write. All right, so here's the thing. Dogged. What is a dogged? What does that mean? Jason, do you know the word doggedly? What does that mean? Hello, Jason.
uh,
Doggedly. What does that mean?
it's mean like stubborn.
Stubborn. That's very good. Good word. All right. So stubborn. All right, you are very stubbornly. All right, so that means you want to keep your mind and idea. You don't change. All right, so the very stickily, very persistently, you don't change your idea. It's called doggedly. All right, so just like you said, stubbornly. All right, so yeah, very good explanation. So who doggedly pursue every last fact. So in other words, if you think anything I have to add, that's the most beautiful, fundamental, ultimate, most the best choice, and at a certain point you would find it can change. So that's why if you always want to find the last fact or last word, if I add that, the whole article, the whole essay will be so beautiful I cannot touch it anymore. Or if I don't have that, the whole article would or essay would have failure. That's not the right thinking. Because if you wanted to always find the most ultimate or last fact or last word, you're like pursuing the rainbow. So, Brady, so if you pursue the rainbow, what happens?
Oh, you'll never find it.
You never get there. You can see that, but you will never touch it, right? Right, Brady?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what the author means. So if you want to find the ultimate last simple word or sentence that make it the best article, best writing anywhere in the world, and you're like pursuing the rainbow. It may sound beautiful, but you will never reach it because it's simply too big and it's intangible. You cannot touch that. That's why you will never settle down to write. So do not do that. And therefore, it's very important for, as you know, the author is suggesting, therefore think small. Yeah, we always, are being encouraged by the public speaker, some famous successful people saying, think big. That's right, think big in general in your whole life, or probably for a long time goal, you should think big. But when you do a specific writing, you should think small. All right. So that's why thanks to this, do it for a job, all right? But when you think big, that's for the big picture. That's a different story. So you should both think big for the long-term achievement and also think small to finish your job in a short-term goal. Both are important. If you don't have the big dream, you cannot achieve something great. But if you don't think small and do small, you cannot settle down to start your work. All right, so both should be, taken care of. So that's why here, Tolstoy, the ex-author said, couldn't write a book about a war and peace, or Melville a book about whaling. All right. So in other words, if Tolstoy didn't start writing everyday notes, write one page, one paragraph to start with, they will never write a huge book of war and peace. Now, let me ask some of you, see if you know, who was Tolstoy? Liam, do you know the author's name, Tolstoy?
No.
All right, so who knows Tolstoy? All right, anybody, know Tolstoy? Can you just raise your hand? All right, because Tolstoy is so important an author. All right, so we have to always remember that gentleman. All right, so nobody should just not know Tolstoy if you're learning anything about writing, even if he's not writing in, yeah, okay. Go ahead, Jason. Go ahead, Jason.
I know this author, Tolstoy. He's a Russian author.
That's great. All right. So he was a Russian novelist, and one of his great book is titled
uh,
War and
War
Peace.
and yeah, War and
Yeah,
Peace.
thank you. All right, I'm glad you know that. Thank you very much. All right. So yeah, Tolstoy, actually full name is Leo Tolstoy. That's the English version. Right? Leo Tolstoy was one of the most influential and great novelists and writers in the whole history of Russian writing and also the whole world. Until today, people are adapting and making movie and television shows from his book, The War and Peace, and also Anna Karenina, one of the other famous, tragic, story about, peace, about human relationship and love. All right, so Tolstoy, like the author said, could not write a book about war without starting from small. All right, here's another. Melville is another author, and looks like he's writing about whaling. So, who was the so-called Melville, and what did Melville write about anything like a whale or whaling? So Brady, do you know Melville?
No.
Okay. Melville's full name is Herman. All right. So Herman Melville. All right. And he wrote a very famous, he's an American author, American novelist. And he wrote a very famous book, a very famous, novel titled Moby Dick. All right. Moby Dick. Mobydick. All right. Moby Dick was a book that was many years ago. It was published in 1851, many years ago. But still until today, Moby Dick and the author Melville had been regarded one of the top American novels and writers in the whole history of American literature. So that's why And the book, Moby Dick is about whaling. The whaling ship. People on the ship is just taking, trying to catch whale, right? In those years. So anyway, the authors William Zinsser said, they made certain reductive decision about time and place and about individual characters in that time and place one man pursuing one whale. In other words, you cannot put the whole whaling industry in one book. It's too big. You cannot do it. But starting with one person pursuing one whale, probably with a name or nickname, something of that nature, that will start with a good story. So that's why for you guys at school, anytime, for example, your school teacher, your English teacher wants you to write a project or a long essay, for example, for your school English class, they want you to write a 500 word or even 1,000 word essay. That could be a long or long essay for you, and they're asking you to do a lot of research. Then you don't just start it from the big picture and you're dreaming all day and all night. You start with first design, maybe the characters, the main character, the plot, the simple story, or it's a nonfiction, probably starting with one simple topic. For example, about solar energy. You can start with probably in your neighborhood on the street, the solar energy supported, street light bulbs are already starting work, right? So it's very nice and cool and looks, and it's making the city collecting less tax. So all those things that are related to our daily life can be used. Therefore, the author said, every writing project must be reduced before you start writing. That's something very, very, very important. A lot of students, especially, I heard a lot of time our parents, our students, even some teachers is praising their student, their kid, their grandson or daughter, saying, you know what? My Mary or my Peter, even if he or she is only 12, 13, or 15 years old, he has started to write and he could write or she could write scores of paragraph after paragraph, page after paragraph. He is such a long story writer that I don't think he or she needs to learn to write. It's totally a misunderstanding of what is a good write. So like the William Zinsser, the famous Yale University English professor and famous New Yorker Times and New York Times writer, he said very simple, and we want to share it again. Every single writing project must be reduced before you start writing. So that's why it's not about how long you can write, it's about how precise you can write. How precise, all right? And in other words, we can simply use concise. Concise, C-O-N-S-C-I-S-E. Concise is even more important than precise. So Liam, do you know the difference between the word precise and concise? Hello, Liam.
Uh, I'm not sure, but like
You're
I
not
think
sure,
like
okay?
precise is like more to the point, and concise is like how you describe it. I don't know.
Well, precise, you said pretty right, is to the point. You get to where you want to write, you're not missing the target. But concise is not right, or you didn't define the right. Concise includes precise, but it can also include informative and limited words, right? Limited words. All right. So in other words, you are not trying to use many words or more than needed when you write, but still you give enough information. All right. So if you write very long, too many words, that's not concise. But if you write with only a few words, but you miss some information, which means you're not informative enough, that's also concise. So that's why concise includes both enough information, but also limited number of words as few words as you can get to, but still get enough information. That's the so-called concise. Does that make sense, everybody? If you think you understand, give me a yeah. You give me a 1 in the chat. All right. Does everybody understand what is concise now? It's very important. Give it 1 in the chat. All right. So great. Thank you. Thank you, Brady and Jason. And how about Liam? Do you think you understand? Because I didn't see your 1. Okay, good. All right. So now let's move on. How to think small, that's another story. All right. So decide what corner of your subject you're going to bite off and be content to cover it well and stop. That's something extremely important because a lot of students, including teachers, including professional writers, they can also make this kind of mistake. They don't know where to stop, right? Where or and when to stop, right? That's something pretty sad because a lot of time thinking, I have so many beautiful words, nice phrases, idioms, all right, some figure of speech, some literary devices, so many that I can use countless of those similar words to describe the same thing. I simply cannot give up any of them because I have too many of those beautiful words. So that's why they don't know where to stop, or they don't want it to stop. They want to accumulate and pile up the words as they think are beautiful. That's actually not only not beautiful, it's actually ugly. All right. If you don't know, stop. If no stop. Anything no stop, especially for art, writing especially, that's ugly. All right. For example, today we're having a lot of videos. Short videos, the probably most popular media people like. They don't have time for reading. We're probably, even if they read, they want to read something concise, short enough, but you give me enough information. That's what I want. But if you're writing too long, people simply just discard it or just throw in the garbage. Even for a short video, it's the same thing. Short video is no difference than the writing art, only they're using visual. But it starts still from the basic idea of some words or storyline. But if your video is too long, people will simply delete it or probably wipe it away. And that's something you have to understand. Very important. So there's also a matter of energy and morale. All right, so Eric, since you're late, all right, so just want to remind you, we're talking about how to do Unity now. We're more talking about how to write short and know where to stop for the writing. But before we going forward and moving with more questions or even the exercise, what does the morale mean, Eric? This word.
Like spirit, like if
Yeah,
you
it's
have good
kind of spirit, but it's not any spirit. What kind of spirit is called morale?
like how good you feel, like if you feel energetic.
Well, yeah, you can say that, yeah, if you're energetic. So, but you have to define that this way, all right? At least you have to touch about fighting or in a war or in dramatic action. All right, for example, morale for the military or morale for a school or morale for an organization is basically the energy or spirit felt by other people or among themselves during a war, during an activity, or during a fighting. That's how we define a morale. Right? It's not just any spirit and any energy. It should be belonging to a group of people, soldiers, schools, students, sportsmen, etc., but they're in an activity compared to other people. That's called morale. So an unwieldy writing task is a drain on your enthusiasm. What does unwieldy mean? That's the big word, very formal, very important. So whenever you want to write something nice and beautiful, remember the word unwieldy. So, Brady, what does unwieldy mean?
I'm not sure.
All right, you're not sure. Okay, so unwieldy simply means it's very difficult to move forward because it's too too heavy, too bulky. All right, so let me just write it here. All right, too heavy to move. All right, so it's in simple words. It's too heavy to move. All right, either because of size, it's too long, or too many words, depending on the different situation. All right, so for writing, obviously, it's too long, too many words, especially repeated, unnecessarily repeated. Right, so that's unbulky, very bulky. Right, unwieldy writing means it's too many words, too long. That's it finished the job maybe, but people feel bored and tired. So that type of saying, that type of wieldy, unwieldy writing task is basically a drain on your instinct. A drain, the beautiful word. All right. So I still remember many, many years ago when I, studied for my PhD, and one of my classmates, he was also a PhD candidate. He said the day he was taking the so-called comprehensive candidacy exam. All right, so every single PhD candidate would have that kind of big exam. So drained. He said the time I'm finished of the comprehensive, I was drained. He used that word. All right, that's the highest level of tiredness and exhausting situation. All right, so drain means it's flowing completely or drying up every single matter, every single article, every single particle, every single small piece of your energy or enthusiasm. All right, so drain is a big word. It means you're dried out. Right? So that's why if you want to write something so big, so lengthy that you're making people feel drained, it's no good. It's no good. Therefore, it's good to have enthusiasm, but because it's the force, like the author said, that keeps you going and keeps the reader in the grip. All right. But if you make them feel they're lost, they feel they're tired and exhausted, where they are drained, you're failing your writing. That moment, people feel that. All right. So that's why when, the author said, when your zest began to ebb, the reader is the first person to know it. For 2 words, what is a zest? What does it mean to ebb? Brady? What is zest and what does it mean to ebb?
I think like zest means like you're you're like being interesting or something.
Yeah, that's close, but remember zest is a noun. It's very simple. It simply means enthusiasm. All right. So in the future, not just Brady, everybody remember this. A lot of times in your school exam, whatever exam it is, English, American history, government, whatever, or even science, whenever they give you some reading comprehension, and if they find a word that's not the vocabulary word you already learned, one of the key skills you want to try to understand is to look around before and after, find a word that possibly is defining it. So obviously here, if you find enthusiasm and it's something important, then when your that begin to add, the readers first see it must be something related to enthusiasm or something close or even or synonym. Here, zest exactly means enthusiasm. All right. And to ebb, what does to ebb mean? Your enthusiasm or zest ebb? Eric, what do you mean? What do we mean by something to ebb?
Ebb means to like fade out or like
Fade out. Very good.
actually
Right.
go away, I think.
Yeah, to dry down or to fade out or to losing to lose its power or force or energy. That's called ebb. Very good. So that's something you have to make sure whenever you find your writing is ebbing out, any of your zest, your enthusiasm, Especially if you ask your friend, your classmates, your parents, your teacher to read something, they find in the beginning the writing is so beautiful and it's very, energetic. It's amazing. But gradually, as the story goes on and on, I find the zest, the enthusiasm, the spirit is starting to fade out, to lose, to becoming less, persuasive. Then you are finding a problem there. So you guys probably have watched some. Let me ask some of you, Liam. Hello, Liam. Do you watch like a Netflix or any other show, TV show, or any internet show sometimes?
No,
Do you read novels or anything that you're interested?
no,
You don't have any show or art you're interested in? No video, no movie, no TV, or no internet
no,
video, anything?
no.
Then do you have anything you were interested before?
Like
Do you
any
have any?
show
Yeah, any
or
show or anything, including music or anything that you find interesting? Anything? Can you just share with us? Not really?
no.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, let's just see this. All right. Um, so for example, a lot of time people find I watch a Netflix video, a movie, a TV series, um, and for example, talking about um any lawyer story, any crime and policing, a police officer story, or 007 or a Mission Impossible. The best, the worst issue people find would be a start to app, the Zash starter app. In the beginning, the very first clip or trailer type of show, a couple minutes, you showed so amazing a show. It's almost like the Titanic. It's almost like, all right, the next um, Oscar-winning movie. But after I see a couple scenarios or a couple of seasons, I found a story to start to ebb off, to start, downsizing its attractiveness, or to start losing its power because they don't have anything great. So that's a thing always happen, right? In Hollywood, even for the professional writer, you can always find that situation. Not so many great writings, including movies, TV shows, and these days, including those short videos on TikTok, Instagram, YouTuber. All right. People are losing their energy and enthusiasm as the writing or the story start to wind down, wind up. People would find, no, that's not a story I started to in the beginning. It's a totally different story. Where they saw probably that's a different author. No, oftentimes not a different author. It's because simply either because the writing is too long, or probably the author is losing their enthusiasm or losing their power, or they find their talent is not getting enough information, enough writing to support and boost the next few episode or scenarios. So that's the thing. That's when you probably either just stop there or probably wait for a while before you start writing. That same thing happened to your schoolwork. So you don't think, I can write anytime, write a good essay for my English class, for my government, American government, or American history, or even science research. A lot of time, for math, for example, if you are starting with, some algebra, class, you find the first, few classes. I'm so excited about those, questions. I can do them, even if I have to challenge myself, but I feel it was so interesting, methodology my teacher using and recommending. So I love it. But after a few, sessions or after a few weeks, I found either because the teacher's teaching, ability or because of the issue are boring, I started to um, losing my interest. That's very often, right? So that's why know to stop certain plays, or probably have a break for yourself, or change something, methodology, change your style to make it coming back. All right. So that's something very important. All right. So now let's move on to the next page. We just stopped here. So can we ask somebody to read this? So Eric, since you're late, so can you just do us a favor, read the next two paragraphs? And if you have any question, please share with us after you read.
Got it. Once you have your unities decided, there's no material you can't work into your frame. If the tourist in Hong Kong had chosen to write solely in the conversational vein about what he and Anne did, he would have found a natural way to weave into his narrative, whether he personally whether he wanted to tell us about the Kowloon ferry in the local weather. His personality and purpose would have been intact, and his article would have held together. Now, it often happens that you'll make these decisions prior and then discover that they weren't the right ones. The material begins to lead you in an unexpected direction, where you're more comfortable writing in a different tone. That's normal. The act of writing generates some cluster of thoughts or memories that you didn't anticipate. Don't fight such a current if it doesn't feel right. Trust the material if it's taking you into terrain you don't intend to enter, but where the vibrations are good. Adjust your style accordingly and proceed to whatever destination you reach. Don't become the prisoner of a preconceived plan. Writing is no respecter of blueprints.
All right, thank you. Do you have any question, Eric?
No.
Okay. So if you don't have questions, then I'll have a question for you guys. All right, so, but of course, let's just do it, across the two paragraphs. That's also very important. So here's one thing. All right, so he would have found a natural way to wave into his narrative whatever he wanted to tell us about the Cologne theory and the local variable. So wave, what does that word mean? Jason, what does wave mean?
I don't know.
You don't? Okay. How about Brady? What is the meaning of the word wave, especially for writing, purpose? What does wave mean?
Like go into
Yeah, but where do you think this word come from? For it originally come from what kind of activity?
knitting.
Knitting, right? Yeah. So we're waving a piece of cloth or a piece, uh, garment or clothes or whatsoever. All right. So wave is a very good word to use. It's a borrowed word from clothing, knitting into writing. Oftentimes people write that, because it's very similar from knitting, from, making clothes or like design the fashion. They have a lot of a similarity between the two industry and two trades. So here's the one thing. His personality and purpose would have them intact, and his article would have held together. So remember, we're still talking about the unity. All right, that's very important. Your personality and the purpose being intact. What does intact mean? That's a very important part of our writing, especially you have a special personality or feature of your own writing style. It's very important. Do not lose your intactness. So, Liam, what does intact mean?
Like it's together.
Well, it's not just put together. All right. Of course, you can say something related to, putting together, but intact simply means it's not damaged. It's not impaired. It's complete. It's not touched, especially for writing, for the art from the original writer and he or her originality, their fundamental style that's not touched, not changed. That's something called intact. All right. That's very important because a lot of time, actually, we can say I remember somebody said, before, every person is a good writer, only they didn't find it. All right. So that's why when you go to school, when you go to the different contests, so-called writing competition, New York Times, John Locke, right, whatever that is, you find a lot of time your trainer, your coach, so-called coach, even your teachers, including some professor in different university, they would want to use their so-called successful example to change your writing style and originality because they think it's more possible for you to win out in a competition with such and such writing style, or such and such, figure of speech, or such and such parallelism in writing, then you would probably more likely to win the trophy or the award. But that's not right. Because if you have to change your fundamental personality and the one and only your selfness, you're actually losing everything. Even if you sometime might win a little bit some award, but if you lose yourself, in other words, you're not keeping your intactness, you are actually losing yourself as a great writer, because only you yourself as the original individualist, personal writer, that's time. So that's, when you can do something no other people can win against you for that type of writing. Only you can do. All right. It may sound a little complicated. In other words, be yourself. From there, you can probably add a little more great words, some beautiful, figure of speech, a literary device. You can borrow from Tolstoy. You can borrow from Melville, just like we just saw last page. But still, keeping the core, that's only you, and the thing you cannot be touched. It's always intact. That's something so important for you. So that's why don't feel guilty if you find sometime I lose a competition where my score is not so great in the school, but I think I'm writing the best core style of my personality. Only probably you can probably next time can improve your some other things like your words, your figure of speech, or probably your poetic language, or even the design of story. But your personality and your true personal originality should always be there intact. All right. Does that make sense, everybody? I want you to give me a yes this time if you think you understand what I'm saying, because that's a thing you should never ever lose in your writing. All right. Give me a yes if you think you understand what I'm saying here. Everybody, does it make sense?
Yes.
All right. So yeah. Okay. So can you just write in the chat, please, everybody? Yeah. All right. Thank you. That's a thing you should remember in the bottom of your heart. All right. It's a saying nobody can touch. All right. That's something extremely important. All right. So now, next thing is about some cluster of thoughts and memories that you didn't anticipate. All right. Cluster of thought, because when we actually have things or ideas, they don't just come here, individually. They probably come with groups, the so-called cluster. Right? They can come with a bunch of different ideas, a bunch of different beautiful, thoughts, and you think probably how can I keep them? All right. So one of the good thing is you probably want to write your diary. All right. So your web log, or things of that nature. Don't let your ideas or some great thinking lose and disappear in the thin air forever. Let your writing stay in there in case in the future you can use it for a good novel, short story, nonfiction, or even a memoir to a certain point. All right. All right. So that's the thing you should pay some very high and prioritize attention. All right. So here another thing is don't find just such a current if it feels right. All right. So it means if you have some thought flow or so-called current, just like water, a strong waterway, a strong water flow, or current, or like a waterfall. All right. Let it stay, put it down. All right. Trust your material if it is taking you into terrain you didn't intend to enter, but where the vibrations are good. Right? So that's something extreme. Maybe my idea or my thoughts or even some of the sentences that I saw in the beginning it could be very rough. All right. It could be, all right, core, it could be very rough. It could be unprepared. It could be something not even so beautiful, but if the vibration, in other words, the spirit, the energy or originality I feel so different, write it down, take some notes, just like music. All right. So when you have music, for a musician, they normally, if you have some great, notes and melody coming out, they would immediately either write those notes on the, on the scores or write or play on the piano and record it, as today we do it more conveniently. All right. Same thing for writing. So that's why adjust your style accordingly to produce. You can adjust your specific style. Or style here doesn't mean your originality, your personality. You don't change that, but you can change the specific style that moment. So that's why the author, emphasized very much like this. Don't become the prisoner of a preconceived plan. All right. So if you have some plan, a lot of people is like this. I plan to write a nice, all right, comedies that people all laugh their ass off. People are planning that, but it may not happen that way. So that's why when you find it's not working, change it. Right? It's not your original true personality. That's different from your the intactness of your original personal individualism. It's not that like that. It's a specific plan. It can always and should be changed and redesigned. All right. So one thing here, writing is no respecter of blueprints. Even some teachers, I know many teachers in high school or university, they would, they would stick to their blueprint and saying, why can't the real world, why can't reader appreciate my blueprints? It's such a great idea nobody ever used before. But remember, writing is no respecter of blueprints. If your blueprints doesn't match the reality or it doesn't work for people don't feel anything, change your blueprint instead of asking people to resonate, with your idea and think they're going to get excited when you are actually excited. They feel nothing. They're so indifferent. It's actually a sad thing to know. Remember, you can change. You should. All right. That's not conflicting with your intactness when you keep your originality. All right. So the last page, I want Brady. Can you just read this page for me?
If this happens, the second part of your article will be badly out of joint with the first. But at least you know which part is truest to your instincts. Then it's just a matter of making repairs. Go back to the beginning and rewrite it so that your mood and style are consistent from start to finish. There's nothing such as a method to be ashamed of. Scissors and paste, or their equivalent on the computer. These are honorable writer's tools. Just remember that all unities must be fitted into the edifice you finally put together. However, backwardly they may be assembled, or it will soon become tumbling down.
All right. Here we have one word, edifice. What is edifice, Brady? Brady, yes. What is the edifice?
I don't know.
All right. Edifice is a group of ideas or thoughts. All right. So it's basically a group of ideas or thoughts or belief. It could also be, right? So let's read this sentence so you can probably understand it better. Just remember that all the unities, remember we're talking about unity in the whole chapters. How about talking about consistency, about coherence? The unities must be fitted into the edifice you find put together. In other words, those unities should match your thought system. In other words, if it's conflicting with your philosophical belief on a fundamental and ultimate basis, it doesn't work. Because if you don't even believe that, you should change. All right. Just now remember previously we said we should change. You can change technically, tactically, specific words, sentences, literary devices, or figure of speech. Or even some small writing style from happy to sad, from the normal drama to some scientific. Or it could be very different. But if you don't believe in that, you cannot do that, because if the thing you truly don't believe, you're against that, then you cannot write. You don't want to just make people happy, so you change your fundamental belief. That's not right, right? You don't want to pamper your reader and change your basic fundamental philosophy, your belief. That's not only painful, but trust me, you won't make yourself a great writer or writing anything, that can last for long if you don't believe in that. So that's why backwardly they mean a sample, right? So that's basically on you actually wanted to make sure the things matching each other, no matter start with your idea, your belief, or start with some of the things other people are saying, and you find you can match your edifice, your own ideas, one way or the other, one direction or the other, they can work together into one essay, one article, one poem, or even a drama, right? So that's what we want to make sure unities are being used and make sure they're happening all the way to make sure you're doing a great job. So now let's do an exercise. All right. So we'll probably not write that long. Originally, I want you to probably write it 15 minutes, but probably now can do it shorter. So I want you to write short essay of your understanding of unity and give example to support it. All right. So for example, you write a nonfiction or write an article about commenting about certain issues, for example, how to save energy, by city government, or probably about how people's tax should be reduced or probably added, those kind of things. So I want you to write short essay of your understanding of unity, any topic, and give examples to support it. Remember to give a real world example, a story that you have experienced that's truly lived by yourself. Don't imagine the things that you have never have similar live or something, you understand, right? I'm going to give you 10 minutes. All right. So after 10 minutes, you should just submit, and then we're going to have a discussion, polishing, and editing. All right. You can start now. 10 minutes. Write in the chat. Right. So it may not be perfect, but we're not asking to have a perfect, submission. All right. So it's never ever the situation. All right. Even for award-winning on article or pieces, for example, for a competition or for publication purpose, you still would find a lot of things, can be controversial, can be changed, can be updated always, right? No matter when you think it should be done, but some other people can always find something can be changed. So do not think I should get one perfect item before I submit. No, don't do that. All right, let's just start the discussion. Even if we only have Eric and Jason, other students, Brady and Liam, please start your submission. Don't wait, because if we finish the two writing, we still don't see a writing, we'll simply move forward. All right, the first one by Eric. My understanding of unity is people join together as one. All right, so here's the one thing. Remember, we actually read this chapter about unity. That unity is actually about rewriting unity. All right, so probably maybe I should just explain it more clearly. But obviously, if we're after read the whole chapter, that kind of unity is not about human unity, more about writing unity. But let's just go toward that direction and see what happened. All right, so my understanding of unity is of people joined together as one. I think that people unite to achieve one common goal that they couldn't have done. All right, so here's the one thing. I have talked to many students. Remove, I think, all right, remove these type of words. All right, so it's not adding any useful information. It's simply a filler. All right, so remove the filler like this. Remove the filler like I think, all right, and so on. All right. So what I'm saying here is basically, if you are thinking you're doing some draft, there's no problem. Talking to your friends, that's no problem. But if you're putting in the real writing, remove any fillers like I think you know, and so on, or those kind of things. So it's not working. It's making your writing weak. By the way, Eric, do you know what's a filler before today?
Oh, like
What is a filler? Can you tell me what's a filler in writing or public speaking or communication?
yeah, like filler in writing or public speaking is saying something like that doesn't need to be in the text. It like for
Yeah,
example, like using like or I think.
exactly. All right. So filler or fillers are the words or phrases that even if you think are beautiful, powerful, but they don't add any necessary information to a writing, then they're called filler. They can simply and should be simply removed, wiped out. Right. So that way, remove those things, or even the that, obviously. People unite. People unite to achieve one common goal as they couldn't have done. All right. So here's the thing. They couldn't is good enough because when you use have done, that means the thing should have or could have happened before. But when you unite, they don't just achieve things that people could have done before. They're also doing the things that can happen in the future. So that's why instead of using have done, simply say that they couldn't alone. Eric, please don't mute yourself because when we do a discussion, I don't have to always call upon your name. So, Eric, do you understand?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you have different situation, you can simply remove those have done or do, keep they couldn't or could or must or or those kind of shouldn't, those kind of things, right, to make sure it's covering all the situation. And also it's more concise. For example, in World War II, so here's the one thing. Even if I do see some people using the digit 2, but more commonly, people are using the Roman numeral, right, 2. All right. So, Eric, you know what's Roman numeral, right?
Yeah, I know what Roman numeral
Yeah.
is.
So use a Roman numeral instead of the 1, 2, 3, the so-called uh Arabic number. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. So, for example, in World War II, the communist USSR united with capitalist West to defeat their common enemy, the Nazis. All right. Yeah, that's a good example. Another example of unity is in people's own lives. Whether it's working together in groups or helping other out, these are all examples. All right. So here's the thing. In the previous sentence, use World War II about specifically USSR Russia, the communist Russia and the Western world. That's a good example. It's very specific. People can remember that. But next example is too general and don't have the specifics. And for example, people working together in groups or helping each other. What kind of situation? You probably might want you may want to use, for example, in 2015 after the tsunami in Southeast Asia, for example, Indonesia, or probably after the earthquake in somewhere in Turkey, somewhere in what time. Give a specific place, specific group of people, and specific event or incident. All right, Eric?
Yeah, I got it.
All right. This time, all right, sentence should have a specific group of people or groups, or it could even be the different groups, right? Or groups. Um, the location and incident or event. And so that way people will remember. Anything people can't remember, cannot link it with a specific scenario, should be changed. Right. So always remember that. Right? Just remember, even if we're writing nonfiction articles, essays, write in the fashion of a story, a fictional story. Think of that way. If you do that, a nonfiction could be as beautiful, as attractive as any beautiful drama, play, or TV show, like a story, a fictional story. So overall, unity is a good thing because it's better having more people working together than just one. All right, so the summary is good. Are you even if we can make it even better, but considering the time is only have 10 minutes and your knowledge and experience of writing this, I cannot blame you or cannot ask you more. All right, so basically make the example more supportive, more detailed, more specific. Good job, in general. Now let's take a look next one by Jason. Actually, let's see we do have uh, um Jason, and also we have Brady's writing also. Let's just copy into the slide so we can have a discussion put together. So Jason's writing come first. As far as I am concerned, Unity is an events whole process that its elements are consistent with each other. Title. Yeah, I like this definition. Maybe we can discuss or disagree about the definition, but the definition itself, technically, grammatically, and writing stylishly, there's no big issue. So that's why it's a good definition to start with. All right. Good definition. All right. To start with. All right. So that's a good thing. All right. Anything in the future, if you find I have a good sentence to start, even if I don't have others detail to support at this time, put it in there. And if the time's up, don't worry about that. Submit. You may find I have a lot of things, it's totally, unacceptable. But as long as I have something beautiful, let's do it. Let's start with that. Especially when the time is limited, try to give the draft. All right, there's one thing I want to share with you. It's very much related to today's AI, and it's a word people are using, but people don't realize they should use this action that's called iteration. All right. That's a technical word, very much so. Everybody should remember. It's technical engineering word, but it's also be used and should be used for writing today. So let me ask some of you. Jason, do you understand what is iteration in terms of AI, technical, or any engineering thing? Have you ever heard about iteration? Jason.
Iteration means that it's renew.
You can say that, but it's not exactly what renew. It's very much related to renew, right? But it's not exactly renew itself, but very related. All right, thank you. Let me ask a different student, see if you understand, especially for writing and creative work. Eric, have you ever heard of iteration in AI or engineering? I know you're not, maybe you're not familiar with it, but did you ever hear about this word?
I got like no idea.
All right, so yeah, iteration. All right, just now, Eric, Jason have a good start. All right, so it's related to renew, but it's not simply a renew. All right, so it is the change of some minor minor issues, right? Or I should say, not just change, probably update, right? Or improvement, right? So it could be any of those things. Change, update, improvement of some minor issues in on engineer. So it started from engineer, so that's why, but it's more and more used in all AI creative work, so that's why I want to share that thing. So, everybody should remember that it's very useful. So a minor issues in engineering project. All right. So, and then, all right. you upgrade it or update it, right? Whatever you use, right? Upgrade or update very quickly, right? So that's how iteration is defined and used. The reason why it's important is because that's actually the concept used by Elon Musk, the famous, guy who's, always being talked about, the, Tesla, SpaceX, people are talking about. But it's not only that. Not actually, he didn't invent that, but because simply he's showing up in social media so often, so that's why people use his word. But actually, iteration is the widely used and a long-term term for engineering change for many years. But only this in the recent years, because the AI is making things changing so fast, people are starting to use iteration a lot. All right. So, for example, they say this thing need to be iterated, or they need iteration, quick iteration, right? In other words, they need small, minor change, but very often, very frequently. You don't want to wait until everything's perfect before you make a change, but you want to make minor change and do it as the next, maybe if it's not in generation, maybe the next version very quickly. So the version is changed and updated very quickly. That process is called iteration. Same thing for writing. All right. So if you think, all right, so a lot of time we ask the student to write and submit to writing in the class, they didn't realize we're not asking you to write something perfect. So that's why they want to wait until the last minute or even over time. They think I probably can have some better idea. No, more than likely, 99% of the time, you don't have the better idea. Just give whatever you have, put it in there, maybe with my interaction with you and probably our classmates and in your school or other teamwork. You can always ask other people's suggestion, or even yourself can raise it a second time or third time. You will find I have something to change. Only after it's finished, submitted for discussion or for polishing, then can you find something better. It's not waiting for a long time and saying I should make it perfect, because that's a wrong idea. It's not an engineering idea for iteration. It won't work. Same thing, it can apply to artwork. All right. So this idea um, of iteration, all right, can and should be used in art, including writing also. And it's very useful, especially in today. People are seeing so many change so fast. You cannot wait until everything's perfect. There's no such thing as perfect, in general, even. So that's why not just start doing the iteration and let people make adjustment and idea contribution. They're 2 cents. Make it better, then move and let people do it again. See in the next small edition or version. That type of change is so important. All right, so that's why I want you to, if you like this one, Jason have a good definition to start. That's beautiful. Submit it. Don't wait until you have everything. Don't wait. Do it. Submit it. All right. So now next one. For instance, in the novel Uncle Tom's Cabin, when Tom was traded to another place, it matched up his identity as a beautiful. I like it. Even it's not finished, but this example, this example is so great a start that it can surpass the majority of your peers or works or pieces for this purpose, for this type of purpose. So you see, I want to talk with Jason. Hello, Jason.
Yes.
Yeah, so I like this Uncle Tom's Cabin example is so great. Even if you might think I'm not finished, right? You probably submitted, you don't think you're finished, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but that's okay. or like I said, use the so-called iteration. Don't wait until everything's perfect. It's no perfection in the first place, and also you don't have the time. All right. When other people submit their work, just like a Tesla, different versions, they might have a problem, but let it get on the road, let it roll out of the factory, let people test it. Do you understand the idea, Jason?
Yes.
Yeah, it says a good work. Even if it's not finished, great work. All right. Keep up the good work. All right. So now let's do you have any more questions, Jason, before we move on to the next student?
No, thank
Okay,
you.
good. Yeah, we have 3 minutes. 3 minutes. We can do that. Right? So, yeah, Brady.
teacher,
Yeah, Liam, you have the question, Liam.
did you receive my response
Oh
or
yeah, let me take a look. All right, we should. I don't see your response. Where did you submit it? Oh yeah, probably. You can probably actually submit it to everyone. So because right now Zoom is changing, so if you submit individually, I might sometime miss. I may not see that. All right. Yeah, but
okay.
anyway, yeah, let's discuss the Brady one, and then we're gonna do yours. My understanding of unity is everyone working together, wants something that can be achieved individual. All right, yeah, that's good. That's a good start with also. Yeah, you normally people say something, but if you say one something, that can also work. And it's a little kind of old-fashioned, but it can work. All right, so one example of this is when you create a chorus. All right, so here's the thing. When, uh, if you can actually, once one person, all right, so instead of saying, one person, let me ask you, Jason, I mean, Brady. So did this chorus story is something you personally experienced, or you just know it from a show, or where did you get this idea?
I once joined the chorus before.
Yeah, then just say something. That's my own story. Once in my school at certain age, such and such year and time, I was in a chorus and one person or one, singer whatsoever made a mistake, then, blah, 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 and make the story runs on and on. Do you understand, Brady?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why I want to say, one example is when, instead of you, all right, so, one example of this is instead of saying when you create, all right, so make it something like once or probably maybe a year ago, or whatever that is. All right. A year ago or once I joined a course, all right, and then you can have more detail. All right, we don't have time to talk about detail, but just remember this could be much better than you say when you create a course. It's too general. Understand, Brady?
Yeah.
Yeah, don't mute yourself, right? So because we're running out of time. Once a person, all right. So so don't say once a person, one person, all right. So you can say a singer or a member. Don't say one person too wide, too irrelevant. All right, you understand?
Yeah.
Yeah. So and also here you're using, all right, so here is okay, so you use the past tense, keep using the past tense, right? So don't change the tense because we're talking about something happened before. All right, made a mistake, then you can easily spot it. All right, so then everybody can, instead of you can easily say we all easily spot it. All right, so then but once many people sing in unison, then it could cover up the other members. So it can cover up the others, not the others, the other members. All right. Mistakes. All right. Then you should use a comma here, not comma, or apostrophe. All right. Anyway, so Brady, you see, those minor issue could actually make it sound immediately a different sense, different professionalism sense. You understand?
Yeah.
Okay, now we're running over time, and next time, remember, please do the review And I'm sorry, Liam, we're going to actually discuss this one next time. All right, Liam, because we don't have time. We're running over time. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to discuss your writing next time. So that's why do not, come late. And also we're going to share the lead and unit. That's extremely important as unity. All right. So then until next week, we're going to see you in a week. All right. So 7 days. Thank you and have a good night, everybody.
Bye.
Bye now.
Okay, bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.